this morning, sunshine through the clouds, feeling the healing, laughter all around. Rise up and stand tall, joy in every stride. No more tears to fall, let your spirit guide. Blessed go summer, shining through the night. Brighter than thunder, you're the morning light. Life keeps on spinning, hold on to your dreams. You're always winning, more than it seems. Hear the drums calling, dancing to the dawn. Keep on believing, strength in every song. Blessed go summer, shining through the night. Brighter than thunder, you're the morning light.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Blessed Girl Summer. So excited to have you. It is your girl Tisha talking about how we can live a blessed girl summer life. And so today I have a really great topic. This is going to be one of the shorter episodes where we're talking about searching for time. I feel like we have a lot of instances in our lives where we're just trying to find the time to do certain things. And it seems that it is easy for our time, for our lives to get filled with many of things that were not on the list initially. And so I was actually thinking earlier this week of how I'm on summer break. It's about a 3-week break and school takes up a lot of my time. So of course, my thought process was, okay, so I'm breaking from that. I don't have that obligation. It's going to free up time. I'm going to have a lot of time to do a lot of other things. Well, your girl gets into this summer break and it's not really breaking. There are so many things to do. There are things that are coming on my plate. There are things that I quickly want to fill in on those spaces. And they're all good things. Listen, they're all good things. This podcast is one of those things. But I wake up and I find myself looking around like, well, what happened to this time that I thought I had, right? My list just continues to grow with the things that I want to do, which are things that I really, really enjoy doing. But it had me thinking about how sometimes we find ourselves intentionally removing things from our calendars for the purpose of actually having time to rest. And then by the time we look up, those spaces have been filled. And it absolutely is something that we have to protect. I feel like that is a part of life, right? Where if we're not paying attention, if we're not intentional about it, we won't have any time. Our time will completely be sucked away. And sometimes it's other people taking our time. But then there are those times when it's just us, okay? It is just us adding things to the list. And so if we are always so busy, if we find ourselves being so busy all the time, we absolutely have to ask ourselves why. You know, why am I so busy? Why does stillness seem so strange to me? Why does not being active seem like a problem, right? And those are things that I actually had to ask myself. I had to say, well, what is going on here? Because this break is only 3 weeks. 3 weeks goes by very fast. And I'll find myself not feeling rested and prepared for the next season to come, for the next venture or the next project or the next thing that I already know is coming down the pipeline. And so I had to really sit back and be like, what do I need to release off of my schedule so that this break can actually be a break? And why am I filling all these spaces and all these gaps? And those are questions I would challenge you to ask yourself as well. Why do we often find ourselves trying to fill those gaps in those spaces? And why does the stillness seem so strange? We live in such a busy world, right? A fast-paced world. Everybody is doing something all of the time. And of course, we feel like we need to be a part of it. And we do. You know, we live in this earth and we need to be a part of what's going on. but we also need to be a part of what is happening in the present moment that we are currently living in. And we have to be super protective of the spaces that we know that we need, of the time that we know that we need. And so there is a time for rest. There is a time for rejuvenation. There's a time for refreshing. But that time is not going to make itself. We have to be intentional about making sure that we are protecting that space and we're making that space a priority for ourselves. And so I just thought I'd come on here and just share a couple of things that I think are super helpful when we find ourselves looking up like, wait a minute, what is going on? What are these things that I have on my list that were not a part of the plan? Were not things that I initially thought of when I thought of bringing myself to a place of relaxation. So I know for me, some things that were super important was I wanted to do some reading, some audio books that I want to listen to. Child, I haven't even turned the audio book on yet. I got two sitting in my phone waiting to be listened to, and I just haven't had the time. And so then I had to assess, okay, well, what am I doing in place of listening to those audiobooks? And so for me, I'm absolutely listening to podcasts about therapy and everything else. But these are things that I listen to throughout my school time, right? And so I had to tell myself, like, look, you told yourself that you were taking a break from these things. You're going to have plenty of time to be listening to this stuff. But in this space, in this time, you wanted to chill back and relax and really listen to a book that you wanted to be able to dive into. And you couldn't dive into it because you had so much other reading you already had to do for school. And so I had to say to myself, okay, cut out the podcasts. Like, yeah, I don't know about y'all. I wake up to podcasts. I can listen to podcasts all throughout the day. Podcasts are my things. And I'm not just listening to, typically they're very educational and informational podcasts. They're either helping me advance my career or helping me within my industry, educationally. And so it's the type of thing that has you thinking, right? It produces more thought and not more rest. So I had to tell myself, you know what? I'm not gonna be listening to these podcasts. Like I have to honor what I know that I need and what I agreed would be good for myself. The other thing that I said that I wasn't going to be doing is getting into a whole bunch of deep analytical thought shows, right? And so what did I do? I was up here watching a whole documentary, analyzing the thing in deep conversation on the chat, talking about it. And I know that those are great connectors and things, but what I told myself was that I was just going to be able to relax. I was going to watch my Ratchet TV. Those were the things I was going to do with this time to help me release a little bit, right? I haven't watched that one Ratchet thing yet, but I'm going to change that because I made a promise to myself and I actually know what I need in the season that I'm in. And so it's super important that we make sure that we're intentional, that we're staying in tune, and that we're asking ourselves, wait a second, what's going on here? What am I doing? And what am I supposed to be doing? What have I promised myself that I would do that I'm not currently doing? So another thing that you can do is definitely block out time on the calendar. A lot of folks, some people enjoy that. For some it works and for some it doesn't. But if it does work for you, it's a great opportunity to block out that time. And you can put in there whatever it is that you're going to be doing. If that's going to be your daily walks in the park or your reading of your book in the park, then you put that down as your block time and you don't schedule anything. You don't do anything within that time period. You establish a routine that will allow you to actually do the things that you know are in your best interest. Another tip, let other people know what you got going on, what you are doing. Is so important sometimes because we're pulled in so many different directions. The kids need something, friends need something, parents need something, spouses need something. There's always something that someone would love to have you doing for them. And then there's also things that you might feel obligated to be doing, right? And so sometimes it's good to let other people know. Maybe a quick statement of, hey, I've decided I'm being intentional about my rest. This is a spring break for me. Um, and so I really need this rest. And so I just want to let you know that I might not be available for some of the things that you extend to me or you invite me to, or I might just not respond right away because I've kind of set aside this time to really be intentional about my rest and let folks know. Most of the time, people will respect that. If they don't, you told them. You told them. And when you don't respond, then they at least know why, right? They at least know why. You kind of let them know. And then if you have those that are in support of what you're doing, you'll have folks that remind you, girl, I thought you was taking some time. I thought I wasn't going to hear from you. What you got going on? What are you doing? I thought you weren't going to be doing that. Just want to remind you, this rest is important. And so it's important sometimes to bring in your community, right? Your community of people and kind of just letting people know. And so now you're taking it from inside of yourself and inside of your thoughts and the things that you want to do. And you're also letting other people know externally on the outside that this is what's going on with me. This is what is best for me. And this is what I'm doing in this season. You've kind of put a timetable on it. So they're not just wondering like, when will Tisha reemerge? You kind of know when I'm going to reemerge. And then you're not hopefully taking offense to my unavailability, right? Or my lack of responding. And so that way, when I come out of this hibernation, I'm not met with new issues or new challenges because I never communicated with what was going on with me, right? And so another tip that I love to give is really about that phone. The cell phone is it has a great gift of time snatching. The cell phone is a time snatcher. It snatches our time so quickly. And we can find ourselves spending hours scrolling, reading stuff, watching videos, listening to podcasts, right? Because that's where I listen to mine's at, doing all the things. And then we're wondering, like, Dad, I don't feel rested. Like, I don't feel rejuvenated. I don't feel restored. I mean, I haven't really done much, but I don't feel like I got the things that I needed. And the way that this works too is also preparing in advance and knowing what the things are that you need. If it is it exercise, is it like actual naps? Like, is that what you need? Is it getting away? Like, what are those things that you actually need and making a commitment to yourself to pursue those things and then setting it up so that you're able to protect that space. So if you got to put this phone on do not disturb, or you got to put this phone in another space so that you can go for your walk, can you leave the phone and go for your walk? Or, when you get ready to read your book, can you put your phone in your bedroom and maybe you're reading? I keep mentioning things outside because that's my to go, to be outside, like on the back porch, and to do those things. But whatever your space is, maybe your phone should not be in that same space so that you can actually get that much needed self-care, soul care time to replenish your body. To replenish your body. We make time for so many things. And it seems like the time that we need to pour into ourselves, the time that we need to feed our soul, we neglect it. We absolutely neglect it. And then before we know it, that time has passed. We don't feel full. We're running around on empty. And then we're frustrated, right? So what happens in that space? We become frustrated. We become irritated. We become easily agitated. And then that shows up in how we handle people, how we handle our children, how we handle different situations, what we're willing to give, what we're not willing to give. It just shows up in so many ways. And so when we begin to recognize that this time is precious and priceless and matters in how we ultimately show up, it matters in what the outcome is. So it's a part of our strategic plan to reach whatever our ultimate goal is. It has to be incorporated in that space to be able to do life well, to do the things that we desire to do them well. And if we want to stay in a blessed girl summer space, we got to create those moments. We got to protect the time that we need to feed ourselves. And so that brings me to my last point, prioritizing yourself. Prioritizing yourself is so important. Listen, no one else is going to do it for you. Someone may mention, girl, you need some rest, but they are not going to make you rest. They are not going to prepare the way or prepare the space that you need to be able to walk in that refreshing that you need. The only person that can actually do that is you. And even if you did have somebody carve out the space, let's just say the fairy came and carved out the space for you. And they say, you know what? I'm going to treat you to this vacation, this getaway. I'm going to treat you to this space. And they did that for you. And you got in that space. But when you got to that space, you were on your phone. When you got to that space, you were reading emails. When you got to that space, you were doing all the things that do not produce rest in you. Then it doesn't really matter that they helped you get to that place, because at the end of the day, the only person that can really protect that time and those things that you need is you. And so this has to be something personal that we do within ourselves. It has to be something that we prioritize and we make important. And sometimes it is necessary for us to set up roadblocks that will help us, increase the level of discipline that we have to do these things for ourselves. And so these are just a couple of tips that I wanted to share that can help you along that journey of really getting disciplined in that space. Because I tell you, and I'm speaking to myself, so you can know all of these things, but knowing and doing is two different things. And I want us to be a community of knowers and doers. We're not just knowing about the stuff, but we're actually doing it. We're embodying it. And that is what is going to allow us to live a well life, to live a centered life, to be whole, to be able to move forward and navigate the things that we are challenged with, but do it in a blessed girl summer kind of way. Because as we say here, every season is a blessed girl summer. It doesn't have to be summertime. We don't have to be on vacation. Everything does not have to be aligning and doing all the things that we wanted to do. We have the power within ourselves to make it a blessed girl summer. So this was a short one. Hope that it helps you. And I'm looking forward to speaking to you next week.
Woke up this morning, sunshine through the clouds, feeling the healing, laughter all around. Rise up and stand tall, joy in every stride. No more tears to fall, let your spirit guide. Blessed girl summer, shining through the night. Brighter than thunder, you're the morning light. Life keeps on spinning, hold on to your dreams. You're always winning, more than it seems. Hear the drums calling, dancing to the dawn. Keep on believing, strength in every song. Blessed girl summer, shining through the night. Brighter than thunder, you're the morning light. Life keeps on spinning, hold on to your dreams. You're always winning, more than it seems. Hear the drums calling, dancing to the dawn. Keep on believing, strength in every song. Blessed girl summer, shining through the night. Brighter than thunder, you're the morning light. Life keeps on spinning, hold on to your dreams. You're always winning, more than it seems.